the FNL Network talk show.
Welcome to this week's episode of the FNL Network. I am your host, Holly Hester, and with me I have the lovely cast members, Bettina Skye.
Hi.
We have David Stowe.
Hello.
And we have Corey Stowe. How are you guys tonight? What's going on?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. And go ahead.
Doing great. Enjoying it.
Awesome.
A little break in the rain.
Oh, there's rain?
Yeah, we got rain.
It's been raining. Another winter storm coming through.
Oh,
So-
no.
Wow.
Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. Well, let's go ahead and change topics so we don't get depressed about the weather.
I love the rain. Not depressing
I know,
me. I
I
love
love
the
it
rain.
too. Right. All right, so this week we've had a lot of award shows that we've, all been kind of, it's been on the news and we've been blitzed with award shows this and who got the best that and stuff like that. So as Fashion News Live, as this network celebrates that, this week, actually this month, surfaced the People's Choice Icon Award for People's Sexiest Man Alive. Adam Sandler actually accepted the People's Icon Award at the 2024 People's Choice Awards after a sweet onstage tribute from Jennifer Aniston, because they've been longtime friends, on February 18th. He literally started his acceptance speech with, "My agent called me and told me at first that I was receiving an award, and I thought it was Sexiest Man Alive." What happened here, guys? I want to know your opinions. What do you think about Adam Sandler? Have you ever received accolades for something that memorable that you remember? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he's a good icon? I want to hear. Corey, you look like you have a lot to say. You go first. What's going on?
Well, I love Adam Sandler. Yeah, and Sexiest Man Alive, that's one of the awards I pay attention to because I'm normally in the running. So no, I love Adam Sandler. He's got a lot of great stories. There's a lot of great stories about Adam Sandler. And he's been, like, I'd say between him and Conan O'Brien, they're two of the biggest influences on my style of humor that I've loved for 20, 30 years now, right? Conan used to write for The Simpsons too. So, all these shows that the two of them were a part of. And then Adam Sandler's movies have always been just, at first we've gotten used to them, but they were that outlandish humor that came out of nowhere. But he has more than enough stories of the people he's helping in the industry, the people he helps out constantly. And I think one of my favorite stories, I think it was Brad Pitt who told the story about Adam Sandler. But I guess Adam Sandler had a professor when he was younger tell him, he took him out for beer and told him, you probably want to do something else. This is not, acting may not be your thing, and I don't think you're very funny. And, so it was this thing that, of course, he was like, well, I got to go out and rock it now. So many years later, him and his, now he's huge, he's famous, and some of his friends go into some location, and there's that professor there, right? So he has this chance that anyone else, the first thought is like, oh, walk up and be like, oh, look at me now, and this or that. But instead, he walked up, shook the dude's hand, said, how you doing? And he introduced him and said to everybody, hey, this is the only professor that ever bought me a beer. And that was all he said about it. So you hear stories like that, like, a lot. And I didn't get to meet him, but one of my best friends met him, played basketball with him all day, actually, on a set. So he said he was an awesome dude. He cusses a lot, but otherwise, like, more than anybody he knows, which is saying something because he knows us. But other than that, I've heard so many great stories. So I think he's fantastic. And I can't speak to the Sexiest Man Alive award. I don't even think any of us are. So it's kind of a hard one for me, but otherwise, as a person and as just receiving the awards, he deserves all the accolades he gets, for sure.
For sure. Absolutely. I want to say, David, what about you? I mean, what have you ever received something like an accolade for something and remember it, or kind of confused it with something else, or what's your take, David?
I've gotten accolades before, but most of them been for sports or, maybe a painting I've done. I think there's a I think it's awesome when you get an accolade like that and you can talk about where you come from, where you've been, how hard you've been through things, where you started. And that's one of the things that I like about Adam Sandler is that he is very humbled. He is who he is. He's not a different character when he's offset, so they say. I haven't got to meet him myself, but I've read a lot about him. Love his movies. I think his comedy is absolutely hilarious. It's a different type of comedy. You definitely have to get into that kind of a understanding of where he's coming from. Talking like a baby, all those things, it's more or less he's either going to be really annoying to you or he's going to be really, really funny. And for him to be able to go up on stage and do those things and talk like that and still have the following that he has is great. Plus, he's got a great group of friends around him, great actors that have been there from the beginning, from the SNL days all the way up. He's about the same age as me, so I kind of understand a lot of his humor, where it comes from, the things he talks about. I love watching Adam Sandler movies every time they come out, anytime they come on stage. But I think it was great that he had messed up and didn't know what kind of award he was getting and was able to ad lib through that and still play it off and have fun with it and twist it around. That's a sign of not only a great comedian, but he can also laugh at himself. And if you can't laugh at yourself, especially in front of the world, you're going to have a long, long time, to dwell on the fact that everybody makes fun of you, and I think that's one of the important things about it. So as far as accolades and messing them up, I don't think I've had any accolades I've messed up. It's hopefully we get some accolades next week, right?
Absolutely. Adam Sandler is he's a very good businessman. He's got a lot of charisma. I definitely agree. Now, Bettina, I know that you have had accolades. That goes without saying on this network and why you're here. So I want to hear your take. I know you've gotten accolades, so do not hold back, girl. Why don't you tell us? Go ahead and tell us right now.
Won a handful of Best Actress awards, all very exciting for me. My first one was I was young and I was hired to direct a play, and the day of, the main actress got sick, and I was the only one who could fill in. I had to memorize like the entire part last minute, and I did it. And long story short, it was very funny. It was a play by Elaine May, and had to do some improvising when some technical things went wrong, and I got a big laughs from the audience. And I ended up winning Best Actress, Best Director, and we ended up having to tour that play like all over like Long Island, to different libraries all over Long Island, and that was good because it wasn't it was unexpected that I would be acting in that, and the feeling of it was great. So that was a good one. Also, I think that was a joke that Adam Sandler was making. I don't think he would really not know what award he was getting. I met Adam in the 90s when I was doing some work on SNL, and he was very sweet, very flirty with me, and just adorable and nice. And I have very good memories of Adam Sandler, and I just love him and his work. And perhaps I'll get to work with him again. Who knows?
Yes. Well, we got some Adam Sandler fans here, and I love it. I love it. I love it. It's particular, like you said, like David said, you've got to know that sense of humor, and obviously Bettina's had some experiences, and we all know he's are part of entertainment, and you just got to kind of roll with it. So speaking of rolling with it, China. What is this going on about China and this new fashion? So basically, there's a whole article out, and it's all over the media in China and Japan. They're basically, because it's the year of the dragon, they're taking they're taking fashion and kind of futuristically, like just like I don't know. They're basically unrational, and it's not rational anymore. It's their take of fashion, kind of. I don't know if US is kind of caught on by now, but they've got this, and then there's a couple that's on media for cutting their shoes off. I mean, fashion is not what it used to be, and pretty soon, I mean, what do you catch, like a foot disease when that's going on? I mean, I agree with way out there and stuff like that, but is this too unconventional? Where's fashion going? Is it progressive, or are we even gonna is the industry going to even need humans anymore? Go ahead, Bettina. I love what I want to hear your take on this.
I mean, personally, fashion doesn't, I'm not in the fashion world. I don't know too much about it. I know we're on the Fashion Network, but I'm kind of out of the loop with things like that. I did see that video on my feed with the ladies cutting their shoes off. I just thought that was so dumb. It just seems so stupid. I don't understand anyway why people have to like follow fashion trends. Like, why don't we just wear what we feel like or what expresses ourselves? I mean, I kind of
Yeah.
thought it was going in that direction, at least from my own opinion about stuff, that we should be wearing what expresses ourselves, not what's like trendy, because some things are dumb. I mean, why would you want to walk around barefoot, like in the city streets, or like maybe in your own house? Okay, but not even when it's cold. I like to wear slippers. Like, I don't know.
Right,
I don't know. I mean, I don't mind borrowing other ideas from other cultures. I think I kind of like that. And even though I know there's questions about that nowadays, because what do they call the cultural appropriation? People kind of give each other a hard time sometimes. Well, which I think it's good to be sharing your different cultures and mixing that. I love the idea of mixing ethnicities or mixing cultures and stuff like that. So
Melting pot.
yeah, I
yeah,
like that
yeah,
idea. I wish there was
yeah.
even more of it. I know there's a lot now, much more than there ever was, but I'd like to see it going in that direction. But as to
Right, right.
expressions, come on.
Yeah.
You gotta put
Come on.
soles on you gotta put soles on the bottom of your feet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Bottom of your feet need coverage.
Right, right. So Bettina, hey, she thinks it's unconventional. She doesn't know where everyone's going with this. I think we kind of share that opinion. David, what about you? Is this outrageous or is this progressive and we should embrace it? Go ahead.
I think clothes need to be at least practical. I mean, why would you be wearing something that, I mean, sometimes you see these things on these fashion shows and you're like, wow, who in their right mind would wear that? And I think for the most part, people just put it out there. It's an art form. It's a way to show their art, and it probably leads to different types of fashion. I think, heck, we left the 80s when everything was materialistic, like Madonna and the Material Girl. Everything you wore back then, if it wasn't name brand, you were made fun of. You were a poser, so to speak. And today, I'd say in the last 10 years, I think a lot of the kids have been lucky they can wear whatever they want and not really have to be fashionable. But it seems like the materialistic phase is coming back again. If somebody has something that is name brand, people know it. I don't necessarily see it, probably because I'm getting into my middle age and it doesn't matter anymore. I can wear flannels, t-shirts, you name it. It's not a big deal. Fashion wise, though, I think sometimes things come out and people try it and they try to emulate it. And if it doesn't work, they just talk about how ugly it was back in the day or whatnot. I just heard on the radio the other day, I think it was, I can't remember the name of the company, Louis Vuitton or something. How do you say that? Louis
Vuitton.
Vuitton. They made a purse that looks like a Dorito bag with 3 different flavors, and it looks plastic and everything. And I'm thinking, who the hell wants to walk around with a Dorito bag? And they're like, okay, hot Cheetos and Doritos. That makes a lot of sense. And it has, I think they had like lime and cheese. It's like, what flavors is it? Not only that, it cost $1,700 for this purse. First of all, maybe it's because rich people like to buy weird things. I don't know. They don't buy practical things. I know that when I could barely afford anything, I was happy with anything that came close to it. And now I'm kind of like my dad. When I'm going to get something, it better be the top brand. It better be the best thing, because I don't want it to break and I don't want to take it back. And I don't want it to wear down. But I don't think I'm going to spend $1,700. Well, I'm not going to buy a purse, but I don't think I'd buy it for somebody, especially a Dorito bag. I might just go around with a real Dorito bag and who's going to know, right? They're not looking. It's just for the pictures. But I hope you never catch me out there wearing a purse.
What
Or
about
or
Indiana
a
Jones
merce,
satchel?
right?
Yeah,
A purse or
a
a
merce,
merce.
I
yeah.
know.
Right,
Fashion
right.
wise, it's I think culturally, all across the world, I think it's great. I think one of the biggest things that we love about our family is that, well, both Corey and I are married to Mexicans, and so we embrace our Viking heritage, our Irish heritage, the Mexican heritage, and even our German heritage. It's in there. You know, for every year when it comes around to Groundhog Day, we spend the entire day listening to nothing but German music, German polka music, and we make brats and sauerkraut, and we drink German beers only, and we watch, you know, Groundhog Day, you know, over and over and over and over and over. And then for St. Patty's Day, which is coming up, we're super excited. That's been our big party every year. We get in our kilts, we wear kilts at weddings, you know,
For the Irish.
you know, yeah, for the Irish, you know, we love that. And this year in April, we're gonna have a gigantic. For my 50th. We're having a big Viking feast, and we're taking all these tents and putting them in the backyard. These big giant tents that we use, and we're making a giant longhouse. And my sister-in-law puts a smorgasbord of, or I guess it's a giant charcuterie board of every kind of food they would have had during Viking feast.
Oh.
And everybody that comes to the party, you know, I think Corey's gonna announce their name. You know, Corey from the kingdom, or son of Gary from the kingdom of whatever. You know, so anybody that comes, you know, we just enjoy it. People might think we're crazy and weird, you know, but I see people out there all the time getting dressed up for these Comic Cons and stuff like that. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, if you can enjoy it and have fun doing it, like Corey said, this is a smorgasbord of a country. California is even more of a smorgasbord of America. So I think all cultures are great. I haven't seen the Chinese ones yet, what they're doing. I can only imagine, you know, robes and dragons and everything else along with it. So it might be pretty cool.
They're just their bride to bees, and like versus that's where they lost me. Like, you want to be an easy bride versus a difficult bride type of thing. Like, I get it. That culture is not like any other culture. Like, every culture is different, but it should be embraced. Absolutely. Corey, what about you? What's your take on this? Is it unconventional or what?
Oh yeah, it's unconventional. Well, yeah, that's the beauty of being mutts too, is we get to have all kinds of holidays, right? We get to celebrate as often as we want to because we get all kinds of things in us. So, yeah, I mean, fashion's going to be unconventional pretty often. You know, even in cars, you know, you have the cars that come out that are kind of the prototypes that they'll put on display at these shows, and then what actually hits the road is going to be different. My understanding in fashion is it's the same way, right? You're going to have all these really elaborate, crazy things. I don't think they're particularly expecting people to walk around every day wearing this stuff. So I understand it's a form of art. You know, and sometimes I don't even mind that as much as I mind some of the other forms of art that I've seen that they're calling art. I'm not a fan of it, you know, and so I would say I absolutely massive movie fan, massive book fan, but I'm not a fan of the ones that are art for the sake of art or the sake of saying I'm an artist rather than actually doing what an artist is supposed to do, which is to, you know, entertain. Or in film, you're telling a story. You're telling a visual story in particular. So shows for the sake of just showing off, hey, I'm an artist, never been my thing. It's just pretentious to me. And that's in film that I love. But I understand sometimes there's fantastic art films though. Sometimes those are out there that are good. And maybe there's the same thing with fashion. Maybe there's some of those shows where they're having a great time, and you know, some of these things are wild and out there. Maybe they're kind of in on it and laughing with some of that stuff too. Who knows? I don't really know the motivation behind it. It's just not, like David said, it's not practical to me, so it's not my thing. I mean, even when it comes to regular stuff, to where I'm not even a fan of Crocs. So those are strange enough for me. He knows this. He doesn't like them either. But all my students like to wear Crocs, and they have these Crocs versus Converse days. And I joke about not giving them an A if they you know, don't choose Converse or whatever. Because those are what we grew up. We grew up with Converse and Vans when they were cheap. Now they're apparently fashionable and expensive, and I'm like, well, that was what we could afford when we were younger. And those of us that couldn't do Nike and everything else, we were in Converse and stuff like that. And I liked them. But the Crocs come out, and the Crocs are, I mean, my grandparents had these plastic shoes they would keep by the door to take out to go gardening. And that's what Crocs look like to me.
They're
You know what I
nursing
mean?
shoes. We used them in the OR back in the day.
Yeah.
You can wash the blood out of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've had shoes like that. But the way I look at it is, I don't know how many of you guys have ever seen that movie Idiocracy with Luke Wilson?
Yep.
You saw that movie
yeah.
Idiocracy, right? Where it's like the
That's a good
future and
movie.
he's this lazy gadabout and he
It's
ends
like
up
a true
getting
to life
frozen.
movie. That's what's happening now.
It was
Yeah, it's like a very
Yeah.
pre-America.
prophetic movie, right? Yeah, he
That's
wakes up in the
scary.
future, and in the future, he's literally the smartest guy on the planet, even though he was considered pretty lazy in our time.
Mhm.
Um, so the costume designers went out and they were looking for something for them to wear for the costumes. And when it came to the shoes, they wanted something ridiculous and over the top that these guys could wear. And the fashion designer ends up finding these shoes and brings it to the director and says, "Hey, what do you think of these?" And the director's like, "Oh, those are fantastic." But I guess they were kind of worried. They were like, "But what if people start wearing these? Are they going to be offended by this movie saying that, these idiots in Idiocracy are wearing these?" And the costume designers were like, "There's absolutely no way. There's absolutely no way anybody's going to actually take these seriously and start wearing these." But sure enough, what they're wearing the entire movie is Crocs. That's what they had in that film. And yeah, it took about 10 years. Crocs blow up. Like half the things that movie talked about started coming true. Like it's pretty ridiculous. I'm
Complete
waiting to
true to
see
life movie.
skyscrapers tied together now so they can't fall over, right? But yeah, so fashion comes and goes. I'm usually like, do your thing, be what you want to be who you want to. So usually doesn't bother me. Obviously there's limits, don't be inappropriate in the wrong places, stuff like that. But for the most part, fashion doesn't, it doesn't bother me. Wear what you want to wear. It's once in a while where I see something like Crocs or something else and I'm like, please, let's stop. Let's just, and everybody's like, oh, they're so comfortable. And like, I don't care. Like
No socks with
it's,
suits bugs the heck out of me.
yeah, no socks, suit, or there's certain faux pas, if you will, right? People are like, don't wear sandals with socks on them and stuff like
That's
that.
very popular these days. Those sandals with the
And then
socks
it becomes a
like
thing, right?
my
Yeah,
grandparents used to wear down in Florida is now like what the hipsters are wearing in Brooklyn.
exactly.
So dumb.
Exactly.
Another so dumb one. Yeah.
Hey,
So
you're
so
not supposed to wear
fashion,
socks with Birks.
yeah, exactly. And
So
Birkenstocks.
stupid.
So those
Yeah.
fashions is, it's a roller coaster. So I mean, let people do what they want to do. But as far as the fashion industry, of course they're gonna go extreme and you're gonna get that stuff. But in the case of what you were talking about with the Chinese New Year, are they wearing this around or was it fashion shows?
It was for the fashion shows, but it's
Oh,
become
okay.
so progressive, yeah, that they're just basically, and that culture is literally raising their women up to get married young, so they're going to get out of the house because they have a completely different system than we'll ever know. Like they are so, I don't want to say like like they're just rigid. They're just, and I'm not saying that they're not interesting, but there's a rigidity, there's an edge to that kind of way. So they're ready, of course, bride to be and not so good bride versus a whatever is gonna in there basically what they're saying is this fashion way, this fashion and the runway to them and things like that have become such a way of life that they cannot find a makeup artist
Mhm.
for every show. That's that scarce. They
Hmm.
throw in these such extravagant events that's what happens. Everyone knows when you're doing modeling anyway, you have to go through hair, you have to go through makeup, wardrobe, makeup, hair, whatever. So basically in each compartment, that's what they're saying, that there's you can't find any makeup artists. They're booked all the way out, and they're basically keeping it, they're keeping an image. Like, we don't want to present one way when the women need to get married, and who they need to get married is let's just say a good suitor, which means they have to be a certain way. They don't want their daughters in their house anymore. They have kind of, like I said, they have a different culture, so they have to marry sort of a sort of look type of thing. And so what they're doing now is it's catching on. It's become so big and so popular and so like industrialized in that industry that now that I get. But the whole, I'm with you guys, the whole shoe thing is just gross. So like speaking of gross, this is gross. Another sex scandal. This is disgusting. Lauren Boebert, her 18-year-old son allegedly made a sex tape with a minor, according to his affidavit on Tuesday. The 4 suspects involved were reportedly 2 females, 1 male minor, and 18-year-old Bobert. Haven't we heard enough sex scandals? I'm going to go with David on this one. You seem like you got this because your brother's just giving me an I don't like this dude already type of vibe. So I'm going to go with David. He's going to yeah, I'm going to work to you others, but David, yeah, come at me. Just come at me with that opinion.
Oh man, another sex scandal. They've been having sex scandals all the way back as long as history's been around in entertainment and news articles. I mean, all the way back to what Kennedy's, even before that in the late 1800s. It's always something. Yeah, Hamilton, some of those ones probably don't want to really hear about, but yeah. That's a hard thing when you're in high school and you get of age and you have most of your friends are younger than you. I mean, technically, my wife is 2 years younger than me. If I was to met her in high school, that's 2 years. I got to be careful. It's a scary thing. But to be honest with you, for them to, I mean, who knows what the real report is, what's going on? Who's going to watch that sex tape? That's a scary thing. Obviously, there's going to be a jury out there. Most likely, it's going to have to watch this tape to find out who's in it, and it's crazy. I don't understand if it's just a way to distract from what's going on with voting around America right now. I don't know if it's something else just to throw out and have more garbage, or we have nothing else to talk about on the news. God forbid that that this is going to go on and on and on for the next few months throughout the news. But yeah, that's crazy. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I guess we have to wait until the dust settles and find out what the truth is behind everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Bettina, if you want to cover this.
I don't have much to say. Another ridiculous thing. Isn't the mother the one who recently got thrown out of a Broadway show for making out with her boyfriend?
It was a little more than making out.
Yeah.
A little more than making out. They were doing a little bit more than that. Yeah.
Okay, so she's insane, and so obviously, if you're insane, you're gonna have an insane child. You're not gonna know how to bring them up, or you're gonna bring them up with the crazy values. So it's just a matter of if you have no morals and no, what's the word, ethics code, like you don't know how to behave,
integrity.
You don't know how to teach your children how to behave. There you go. How is this person she's in the government, isn't she? Like, how is that even possible? Idiocracy, here we are.
Sounds like stories you hear out of the South, right?
Yeah.
yeah. But I love how David keeps providing term after and he's kind of filling in. I feel like he and Bettina could actually have their own little conversation separately aside from this about it. Yikes. Okay. That's what I love. I feel that energy coming right now. Corey, what about you?
Yeah. Obviously, all of them involved have been over sexualized at some point in time, and like she was saying, that's what I would have brought up too, is with what happened with the mom. It's obvious, and she had her image that she was maintaining for a while, and obviously when things went south with her husband, and then now she's getting caught with incidents like the Broadway play, and which I think that's what it was, a Broadway play. I think it was something where they were in a theater. Yeah, and she was trying to act like, oh, why me? What I do? And then they came out with footage, and they're like, look, we could see you on our cameras. Like,
she was vaping in the theater, if I remember correctly.
That's
what she was saying. She was doing that, but she was saying that's why they're kicking her out. That's not why they were kicking her out. She was doing.
She had a tiny vape, huh?
Yeah, she was. Yeah,
a lot more.
They were exposing themselves and doing things to each other with young children nearby, so it got pretty bad. Yes,
that's disgusting.
Yeah, it was bad. And then so like I said, if she's willing to do that kind of stuff as a public figure in public, you can only guess, but I can imagine that it doesn't look good when her son comes out now. It looks like there's some over sexualization going on there, and obviously the other people involved with the video, like David said, it's tough when you're like near 18. So I don't know the ages. Was her son 18 and the other one's just under 18? Like we're talking a couple months apart and they go to school together, or
I think they're all minors. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's the whole thing. It's this. Yeah, it keeps unraveling.
But nonetheless, somewhere between I mean, to me, if you're going to be making videos like that, keep them so far from the internet. Keep them so far from anything that could even end up on the internet or that someone can get from you. If you have to make the video, if you're consenting adults and you have to make the video and you're going to do this, be smart about it so that it never becomes something that's public in the first place. But then you get back to, like David said, well, who's going to, who takes this and makes it public? And are we doing it for the sake of the scandal? Or are we doing it so the video gets out there so these creeps can actually watch these young kids doing this? And then of course, why would these 4 kids be making this video together anyways? That's so young to be even having anything to do with this kind of activity that is just kind of disturbing. And I know worse goes on, and probably younger than that worse goes on. And there's all kinds of other stories out there. It's just a reminder sometimes of how trashy and seedy things can be out there, I guess. As far as being a scandal, I don't know if it hurts anything. She already hurt herself politically as it is. So, but yeah, it just sucks, I guess. Just sucks to know that kind of thing's going on. So
It does. So speaking of acting out in public, who's a Phillies fan out there? In wrapping up, Phillies fan, it's dollar night. So 2024 is actually not really good for a year in Philly for these fans. They've declared a food fight in public. Talk about in public and not knowing how to be. It went too far. So basically, they're cutting dollar night out in Philly, Philadelphia, at their sports facility. How far would you go as a sports fan? How far would you go for your team? And would it involve a dollar hot dog? So basically, this is kind of just a whole scandal on top of fans acting stupid. Corey, you go. What I want to hear from you on this whole dollar hot dog and acting, because you kind of helped me with this next decision, because it seems like you kind of have a way of don't be like that in public, be this way type of thing. You go ahead.
well, I don't even know how they could afford to throw all that food around. Man, I just went and picked up a little bit of meat today, like 2 packages of meat, and I spent over $100 on it. So I don't know how if I can go find a hot dog for $1 somewhere like that, I'm not going to be throwing that thing. That's for sure. I'm not going to waste a single dime on the Phillies anyways. We're a Dodger dude over here, man. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Food fight can be fun, right? I mean, it's not the worst trouble they could get into. Again, Dodger fan, some of the things that go on at Dodger Stadium are not food fights, and food fight will be welcome compared to some of the stuff we've seen happen over here, right? Sometimes you get riots and things like that. So, did it get that riotous afterwards, or was it just the food?
Oh, it got bad. It got really bad.
So it got violent as well.
Oh, way bad. People, it was not just a food fight. It was all the above. Fans getting into it. They said the fans, they would never have cut that night out, because it first of all drew people in. It was good for their business. It was good for the city type of thing. It drew people in, and people would have never, the city would have never eliminated that entirely if something didn't go wrong with the fans. So this was a disaster in one setting. I mean, it wasn't the sports team. It was fans were getting into it like, and then all of a sudden it's not just food. People were throwing things. I mean, fans were just acting outrageous, and no one knows what got into them.
And was this from a win or a loss, or?
No, it was basically just too much rioting between fans. According to the article, it was too much. It wasn't a particular win or lose type of thing, although I think they're Phillies fans. I mean, like New York's fans, Yankees and Jets and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So they're going to get into it. Any sports team is going to get into it, It's like the Spurs, in basketball. It just, fans are going to be fans. So, but yeah, it got.
Well,
it got really
sometimes
bad.
if it gets that bad, again, history guy here, I start looking back and thinking, sometimes that's the exact place where people start letting their frustrations out, or those massive events they go to, the frustration with the prices, what they paid to get there, the things they had to do to come and watch this, to watch them lose, to watch these people get paid millions of dollars that they don't have just to lose in front of them, and then listen to someone else sit there and go, "Oh, my team, your team," and it's a sign of socially and economically what's going on. It could be, or they could just be a bunch of jerks that were there that night, and just got out of hand. You never know. But sometimes that could be a sign of people's frustration with the time and the place and the things that are going on. You know, first thing that came to my mind, like I joked about it, but how much everything's costing right now. But we're reaching that point. It's getting hard to live, and to go there, pay all that money, finally get into something like that, relax with a few beers, you know, and start to enjoy yourself, and then get in the middle of something like that and to become that passionate about it. You know, there's something else going on for sure.
Yeah. I would love to get in a food fight though. Wouldn't you? I want to get in a food fight. Actually, you know who, Bettina, you look like you've been in a food fight before or that you want to be. Go ahead, girl. Go
When I was
ahead.
in
I wanna
high
hear from you.
school, yeah, I got into a lot of fights. Uh, but I'm not in high school anymore, and I don't believe in fun or doing something on film or just enjoying, yeah, but violence and over a sports team. I mean, I'm not a sports fanatic or sport. I don't follow it at all. Other than if my husband's watching something, I'll sit with him. But I don't watch it, or I can't imagine getting violent over this. And I don't believe in eating meat. So the whole thing about like, killing animals and making them into hot dogs and then throwing them around like for, the detriment of
Waste.
animals and to the detriment of the planet is horrible. So I don't, at least get some vegan hot dogs.
Hey, I'd definitely be in a food fight if
I
it was
love
vegan
it.
hot dogs.
Yes, yes. That'd be amazing.
A lot
Oh,
of
we're on to
people.
something. I love it. It's a great idea. I love it. I love it. What about you, David? How are you about that?
Well, I think they're both right. In fact, all of you are right. I mean, if you want to take a family of four to a Dodgers game right now, you're going to spend around $1,000, not to mention $20 for one beer. And then when you spill that beer, you're going to freak out and get mad and angry. I think, like Corey
Or
said,
if
I
somebody
think,
else spills that beer, it's worse, right?
yeah, and some people might want to get down there and start licking it up. I mean, that's crazy with where the economy is right now. Yes, I think socially in America and actually the world right now, in just the last few years since COVID, people have gotten very high strung out, and we go from 0 to 100 like that. And I think the people that are getting into these situations, like Corey said, the prices are expensive. They're very passionate about their sport. We're sports fans. We're very passionate. We fight with each other, but there's no need to get in a fight at a game,
You're not
especially if
throwing
you're
things.
kids. Yeah, and throwing. I'm definitely not throwing my beer or my hot dog. I might pick it off the ground after somebody threw it at me, but I mean, the only food fight I've ever really been in was in, sixth grade. And my buddy next to him, he got mad at his friend, and the other friend said something. He grabbed a pizza and he screwed it onto his nose. And then while they were fighting, we started throwing food around saying, "Hey, food fight." And it was just crazy fun. And then the mess in the end
Yeah,
was ugly. But, that fight was violent between the two people. But I could see how these Phillies fans are already crazy, and so are just like Eagles fans, and Raiders fans when they used to be in LA. Sometimes these groups get together, and I think it's the mob mentality. And it's really weird because when people are by themselves, they don't seem to go chaos, maybe one or two. But when a whole group of crowds does it, there's a psychological thing that goes into play where everybody just starts doing things they would have never done on their own. And dollar beer night you said they had?
no, it was just a dollar dog. That's what's even
Oh,
worse. It
dollar
wasn't
dog.
even.
Oh yeah. Well, they're probably not, they're not Dodger dog. Dodger dogs are highly expensive now, But yeah, I mean, I've been to a play. I know that the old minor league team here, we used to go on Thursdays for dollar beer night, and it was real cheap and easy. After the fourth inning, they stopped selling them, so people don't get completely drunk. Not to mention it's light beer, so people were waiting in a long line. I'm thinking to myself, we're actually sitting in a half-hour line to get one glass of beer that's going to be done by the time I get back to my seat. It's a good idea to get people out there, but once you start getting people drunk like that in these stadiums, they're going to go crazy. And like Corey said, I think there's an underlying psychological thing that's going on with the economy, and the way people are flaring out and just losing their minds nowadays. They can't just have fun anymore, and people want to be heard, and they want to say it, and they want to get it done, and it doesn't matter who they hurt because they're on stage right now. It's their turn.
Absolutely.
That's why I bring
That's
up the old
very well
Roman
said.
Colosseums and stuff was exactly for that reason, like the mob demandum, right? The mob rules. The Romans thought that, and Yeah, I don't blame the alcohol. I don't blame the those things exacerbate it for sure, but I don't blame that or the dollar hot dog night. So you gave me an image though of two people in an arena and the vegetarians and the meat eaters throwing meat and vegetables at each other now and having a battle. Put that image in my head.
No, it's just everybody together. But I think that you all touched on something great. Today's society is really not what it used to be. It's we got people who are literally going footless. They're basically going to be without shoes in time to come. They're pushing the limits. We're going to push the limits on everything, and in the time to come, we don't even know what the world will look like. In fashion industry and the shoe industry. In the fashion, each fashion line. What they're going to do to their outfits, what they're going to do with their shoes, and some things are great and they're to be embraced, but other things are just like. I really don't want a foot disease. I don't want to be gross or anything like that, but I love it. I love tonight, and I love how we've covered all these topics, and we've discussed everything from what fans we all are, and if we like sports, to the Bobert scandal, and Adam Sandler as an icon, which we all agree he's a definitely different character, but he's definitely to be saluted for his speech and the whole their direction that went. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on the FNL Network. We've had great guests. We've had Corey, we've had David and Bettina offering their wonderful insight, such smart characters and talented people. We thank you so much. Like and share, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks so much. And bye, guys. Have a great night.
See ya.
See ya.